They told you that power shows up loudly, with trumpets, signatures, and handshakes. But you learned quickly. The most expensive thing in any room is not the voice that fills it. It's the space that refuses to speak. You arrive where influence is measured by proximity. You measure yourself against doors, calendars, and the strange weather of replies. You learn the exchange rate of attention, how seconds can be traded like gold, how a delayed answer shapes the price of your desire. The room warms with talk, yet what commands it is colder, the chair that remains empty. Absence is not a lack. It is a signal, a boundary, a drought. You feel it before you name it. You notice how the late arrival is negotiated in whispers, deals softened, terms sweetened, faces tilted toward a presence that withholds itself. You watch hunger gather around that emptiness, and you understand. Markets repriced themselves before money arrived. Scarcity is more persuasive than passion. And in that silence, the truth whispers. You were trained to equate effort with value, work long, speak often, show eagerness, but every performance has a buyer, and eagerness discounts itself. The rich do not over-explain because it is expensive to be readable. Their distance is a ledger, their stillness is a tariff. Withdrawal, properly designed, turns your wanting against you. The more you lean in, the more the world learns to lean away. Pricing emerges not from merit, but from mystery. The chair is empty, and the room pays for interpretation. But what if you are the one removed? What happens when you stop chasing the banquet? You start to see how absence exerts gravity, not by force, but by calibration. You move less, the system moves more. Like a tide rearranging harbors, your silence edits schedules, edits calculations, edits respect. Not because you threatened, because you measured. Here's the part no one dares to. Oh, admit. In a world addicted to noise, restraint is a weapon. Availability dissolves margins. Predictability kills leverage. The rich practice a craft the poor are punished for, waiting. They impose cost without raising their voice. They turn later into law. And in that silence, the truth whispers. Emotional withdrawal is not cruelty. It is discipline over signal. You pull your warmth back from the auction block. You let your answers breathe. You teach people how to read you by being difficult to misread. Calmness becomes architecture. Your heartbeat is a metronome the rest of the chorus must follow. A paradox emerges. To influence the room, you must first learn to let the room run itself into hunger. You resist the urge to correct, comfort, or clarify. You watch who offers more in the drought. You notice who pays the tax of uncertainty gracefully and who panics. Absence selects. Absence filters. Absence weighs character without asking questions. And yet, the truth is darker. Absence will cost you too. The warmth of belonging, the quick sugar of approval, the familiar applause of being needed. To withdraw is to be called cold, to be misunderstood, to endure projections. But projection is cheaper than dependence, and distance is cheaper than resentment. You choose the cold silence, not as punishment, as design. You learn to step back until only the necessary remains. You discover the value of unplayed cards. You let your name travel on rumor while your mind stays motionless. The chair, still empty, grows heavier than any crown. And in that silence, the truth whispers. The awakening is not dramatic. It is a recalibration of appetite. The banquet goes on without you, but something in the economy changes. Prices shift, people adjust, they always do. What you gained is not a throne, it is custody over your signal. In the dark power of emotional withdrawal, you renegotiate what you are worth, without a single word. You step into a room where value is not what it is, but what it means. A blank canvas, a massive number, a reverent crowd. The silence surrounding it is louder than any critique. You expect laughter. You find obedience. Why? Because value is a choreography of belief, and belief takes its cues from confidence. The first to interpret boldly becomes the architect of price. You watch a broker whisper about restraint, lineage, and historic minimalism. You feel the crowd nodding, eager to not be left outside the circle that understands. The canvas does not prove worth. The crowd performs it. And in that silence, the truth whispers. The rich man's mirror does not reflect paint. It reflects hierarchy. The frame, the lighting, the guest list, the caption. Every element is a signal embedded in scarcity. Few may enter. Fewer may afford. Fewer still may see. When interpretation becomes exclusive, scarcity becomes sacred. Markets congeal around myth. The number attached to the blankness is not insane. It is a calibration of status. But what if the painting is the crowd, and the buyer purchases their silence? When the artist says nothing, the buyer says less, and the witnesses supply the meaning. Value detaches fee. Rom object and binds to narrative custody. The one who controls the explanation controls the yield. In finance, this is sentiment. In art, this is taste. In life, this is power. Here's the part no one dares to admit. Money often follows the courage to be unreadable, to let others translate you at their expense, to let scarcity do your speaking. The wealthy engineer situations where compliance feels like insight, where agreeing becomes proof of belonging, where disagreement sounds like poverty. And in that silence, the truth whispers. You notice how this mirror appears in daily life. Job titles as frames, logos as captions, invitations as lighting. The content inside often matters less than the perimeter. People pay for confidence wrapped in mystery. They pay to not feel foolish. They pay to be seen by what they claim to see. But what if I simply tell the truth, you ask? The crowd halts. Telling the truth without signal is a form of poverty in performance economies. It's honest, but it underprices itself. The rich understand truth must be staged to be persuasive, not faked, framed, presented with distance so desire has room to multiply. The mirror tests you. Will you spend your life explaining your worth to those addicted to transparency? Or will you hold your explanation back until the room pays for it, through time, discipline, or sacrifice? When you withdraw emotionally, you stop feeding interpretations that cheapen you. You let silence act as a price discovery tool. You are the painting and the perimeter. You are the frame nobody owns. And in that silence, the truth whispers. Of course, there is a cost. You will be accused of arrogance. You will be called a snob by those who never asked why the ticket price exists. But scarcity is not cruelty when it protects depth from dilution. You are not punishing the audience. You are protecting the signal. Value survives by limiting its oxygen. Noise smothers. Clarity breathes in controlled rooms. The mirror teaches you to stage your promise without begging, to speak softly beside it, to let outcomes, not explanations, build the legend, to curate distance so meaning condenses around your work like frost on glass. The crowd, fearful of exclusion, brings heat. The frost becomes sheen. The sheen becomes story. The story becomes price. And in that silence, the truth whispers. In the end, you realize the blank canvas was never empty. It was filled with the room's need. It sold because someone dared to hold still while others panicked. That is the dark power of emotional withdrawal, translating stillness into worth and worth into gravity. Seeing the mirror, you stop performing for it. You become the frame. Morning. A clipped announcement. Access delayed. No reason given. The city adjusts. It always does. Resistance vents where it is cheapest, comments, not choices. People rewrite their calendars, revise their tone, and call it resilience. Beneath the surface, a quieter mechanism purrs, obedience formed without force. And in that silence, the truth whispers. Fear of exclusion is more efficient than punishment. The machine understands this. It learns to ration visibility, not freedom. It controls the warm light of being seen. Emails answered, names mentioned, credits given. The threat is not exile. It is invisibility. You will not be noticed. You will not be called. You will not be invited. And something inside you, trained since childhood, tightens. But what if the machine's power is a mirror of your need? You scroll. The algorithm withholds confirmation. Your mind volunteers for surveillance. It repeats a ritual of anticipation. Refresh, hope, check again. Like a lab animal pressing a lever for variable reward, you offer your attention as tribute. You are not punished. You are kept thirsty. The cup is always almost full. Here's the part no one dares to admit. Most people obey to avoid the cold. They crave the warm hum of inclusion, the scene, the thank you, the good job. The machine trades in these tokens. It never had to learn cruelty. It learned scheduling. It learned to delay subtly, to praise sparingly, to cultivate dependency on the next small approval. A civilization is guided not by its laws, but by its longing. And in that silence, the truth whispers. Emotional withdrawal breaks the loop. You stop petitioning for warmth where the price is your autonomy. You learn to live with colder air. At first it stings, then it clears your lungs. You cease confusing response speed with respect. You stop equating volume with leadership. You unhook your nervous system from the city's metronome. But what happens to my ambitions, you ask? They do not die, they harden. You design your own cadence. You create private metrics the machine cannot manipulate. Depth over reach, discipline over applause, leverage over access. When the gate says later, you read it as prove nothing. You proceed without permission, and the gate's magic evaporates. The turnstile becomes scenery. And yet, the truth is darker. The machine is efficient because it lives inside you. It speaks through the voice that fears being overlooked. It measures your worth in responses, your identity in mentions. Emotional withdrawal is surgery. You cut a cord attached to your heartbeat. You will shake. You will doubt. You will want to run back into the warm light and perform obedience to feel human again. And in that silence, the truth whispers. The few who master the cold do not become cruel. They become unreadable. The machine loses its grip because it cannot predict your next move. You answer when ready, and never to prove. You are not hostile. You are sovereign. You understand that control is cheapest when it is invisible. So you make the invisible visible to yourself, and you decline to pay. Others will adjust to your climate or leave. Some will call you distant. Some will call you disciplined. Both are the same description seen through different hungers. You are no longer a resource for their impatience. You are a source of gravity. The machine, deprived of your reflexes, turns its whirring toward other volunteers. And in that silence, the truth whispers. You have not overthrown anything. You have outgrown it. The rhythm remains for those who need it. The gate opens when it wishes. The metrics sing to their believers. Boo. That you walk on, slow and deliberate, carrying a warmth the machine cannot ration, the heat of self-possession. Obedience dissolves at the edges, and power returns to the quiet center. Strategy is not motion. It is geometry. Lines, thresholds, buffers. The richest do not race.
They build terrain where speed loses its advantage. The impatient sprint into walls they never saw. The patient design the walls. And in that silence, the truth whispers. You begin to see distance as craft. Assistants are portals. Calendars are moats. Phases and committees are instruments, arrangements that slow others long enough for meaning to reveal itself. The louder someone knocks, the more the architecture listens. It asks, who degrades under delay? Who becomes generous under ambiguity? Who betrays themselves when proximity is auctioned? But what if you dislike games? You think distance is theatrical. You prefer honest access, straightforward exchange. Wonderful, until clarity becomes a shortcut for the desperate. Until every yes you offer becomes a discount on your time, your judgment, your sleep. The architecture exists because appetite is infinite. Without it, your life becomes a marketplace with no price tags. Here's the part no one dares to admit. Transparency is not always moral. Sometimes it's just cheap. A refusal to price your energy properly. A fear of being misunderstood. The wealthy are not always wiser. They are often simply better at building gates that reflect appetite back at itself. Their no is delivered by systems that never raise their voice. And in that silence, the truth whispers. You learn to design delays not to punish, but to observe. Quiet time around decisions invites signal. Emotion needs to evaporate before its sediment can be measured. The architecture of distance is a distillery. It separates panic from priority, charm from character, urgency from necessity. The heat of the moment cools, only the essential remains. But isn't that manipulative? Everything with price is manipulation. The question is whether your design extracts dignity or protects it. You can choose distance that humiliates, ghosting, contempt, artificial scarcity. Or you can choose distance that dignifies, clear boundaries, thoughtful cadence, refusal to traffic in addiction. The form may look similar. The intent divides them like night and day. And yet, the truth is darker. You will be misunderstood either way. Architecture that protects your depth will be resented by those who wanted unmetered access to it. You will be accused of arrogance, secrecy, elitism. But the opposite is worse. A life eroded by endless availability, drained by the flood of other people's unsolved urgency. And in that silence, the truth whispers. Distance teaches you another law. Stillness taxes movement. Those who rush will pay, through sloppy choices, escalated promises, and careless reveals. When you are slow, others reveal themselves quickly. When you are quiet, others fill the room with their intentions. Time becomes your interrogator, ambiguity your assistant. The architecture of distance also buys you attention for what matters. Work deep enough to require solitude. Think slow enough to embarrass easy answers. Relationships strong enough to survive fewer messages. You do not vanish, you become selective. And the world gradually stops mistaking your silence for emptiness and starts reading it as signal. And in that silence, the truth whispers. You are building not a fortress, but a monastery for your focus. You keep the doors, but you choose the bells. You refuse to be emergency's employee. You orchestrate approach so that when you do enter a room, your presence is not a performance. It is a verdict. The architecture does not make you untouchable. It makes you valuable by making you scarce with intention. There is a final room. No banners, no anthem, no mirrors. Only a ledger of exchanges you no longer make. The apology of over-explaining, the reflex of replying, the compulsion to be understood by those who trade in misunderstanding. The chair is there again, empty, somehow heavier than before. And in that silence, the truth whispers. Power here is not ownership of others, it is custody of narrative, not the loud part, the quiet metadata,
when you speak, when you don't, what you bless with attention, what you starve. Crowds read these choices like scripture. Markets crystallize around them. In this room, control is not argument, it is editing. But what if you want to be kind? You fear that withdrawal will make you cruel. Here's the part no one dares to admit. Kindness without boundaries is consumed as fuel. You are not colder because you refuse to be coerced by appetite. You are clearer. Clarity is misread by hunger as frost. Let it be misread. And in that silence, the truth whispers. The cold crown is not metal. It is a temperature. The air grows thinner where manipulation cannot breathe. People who loved you for your accessibility will shiver. Some will stay and adapt. Some will leave and complain. You bless them both with distance. The kingdom you protect is not an empire. It is a center of gravity, your own. Awakening has a moral price. You lose the lullaby that fairness will recognize you. You break a childhood treaty, that if you are good enough, visible enough, eager enough, you will be chosen. The cold crown breaks that spell. It allows you to choose yourself without shouting, to stop performing in rooms that cannot afford your silence, to refuse auctions where the currency is your peace. And yet, the truth is darker. You will be tempted to weaponize the cold, to humiliate, dominate, punish. You will want to conquer the very hunger that once made you small. Resist. Emotional withdrawal is surgery, not spectacle. It is how you cut away the need to be fed by what makes you weak. And in that silence, the truth whispers. So you practice a new creed. You will speak only to build, delay to observe, decline without cruelty, enter rooms by choice, not reflex. Price your signal by its cost to your clarity. You will become the kind of absence that sharpens others rather than starving them. Over time, people will tell stories about you to fill the space. They will invent motives, crowns, empires. Let them. The narrative is their wages for attending a banquet.
You did not host. Your task is simple. Maintain the temperature. Guard the center. Choose the droughts that reveal character over the floods that destroy it. And in that silence, the truth whispers. If there is an ending, it is this. You do not need to be seen to be sovereign. Your power is a precise, cold attention that neither begs nor punishes. You are not a fortress, and you are not a spectacle. You are a climate. Those who can breathe here will grow strong. Those who cannot will find warmer rooms. Either way, you stay still. And in that silence, the truth whispers, one last time. Not a command, a reminder. Power isn't control over others, it's control over signal. The crown rests, not on a head, but on an absence that refuses to be sold. You've walked the corridors where silence is currency. You've felt the architecture of distance and the cold weight of a crown no one can see. Tonight you learned what few will admit. Value is not shouted. It condenses around restraint. If you've come this far, you already recognize the pattern. Control is design. Perception is inventory. Signal is the only wealth that compounds. Those who move fastest exhaust themselves. Those who move quiet redraw the map. So stay. Keep thinking. Keep watching. Not for noise, but for calibration. Not for content, but for consciousness. Join the circle that trains its attention like a blade and sheathes it in silence. Choose clarity over appetite, design over distraction, the cold over the comfortable lie. Subscribe, not to be entertained, but to continue the work of seeing. This is more than a channel. It is a quiet rebellion against performance. If you are ready to value what others squander, step into the silence with us. We will not shout. We will not hurry. We will build the kind of absence that cannot be ignored.